Thank you so much. And Minister Amit, put a lot of actions to be taken later on for UN tourism. Distinguished organizers, esteemed colleagues, and honored guests. So just make sure that everything is okay. It is both an honor and a responsibility to address this distinguished gathering for the 5th Accessibility, Travel and Tourism International Conference here in Dubai, a city that had become a global symbol of innovation, inclusiveness, and ambition in the tourism sector. Allow me first to elaborate a little bit and brief you of a background of the UN Tourism. So UN Tourism, or the World Tourism Organization, has established in 1975. We work with 160 member states and above 500 affiliated members. We partner with them to promote responsible, sustainable, and accessible tourism. We advance innovation, resilience, and economic growth while promoting the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The first regional office was opened in Riyadh in 2021, serving as a hub for capacity building, education, technical assistance, innovation, and rural development for the Middle East. International tourism has shown remarkable resilience, growing by 5% in the first half of 2025, with nearly 690 million tourists traveling worldwide. This steady growth reflects strong global demand despite ongoing economic and geopolitical challenges, confirming that the sector's vital role in driving recovery and connecting communities goes regions. At the same time, visitor spending remains robust, with international tourism revenue reached $2 trillion in 2024, underscoring tourism potential to generate inclusive economy opportunities and support local livelihoods. With the UN Tourism Confidence Index rising to 120 points for late 2025, there is growing optimism to channel this momentum towards advancing inclusive, accessible, and sustainable tourism worldwide. Since we are today discussing accessibility tourism, we must reaffirm that tourism is not a privilege reserved for a few, and I'm echoing Mr. Al-Jazeeri words as well. It is a right for all. The UN has shown its commitment to persons with disability by adopting the Convention of the Right of Persons with Disability in 2006. And through the General Assembly mandate, requiring the progressive implementation of accessibility standards across its facilities and services. Inclusive tourism is essential to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 10, reducing inequalities, and SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities. UN Tourism supports this through its Inclusive Tourism for All program, guided by the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Article 30, which guarantees access to cultural life, recreation, and leisure. We have worked with our member states in the Middle East to integrate inclusive practices into strategies and to promote technical assistance and training for the tourism workforce. To provide a clear and actionable roadmap, we have developed a suite of detailed recommendations based on the international ISO 21902 standard on accessibility tourism. These practical guides are designed for every key players in the tourism value chain, from governments and destinations managers to the transportation sector, accommodations, MICE companies, tour operators, and cultural and natural heritage sites. Those guidelines were developed in cooperation with leading experts and organizations. These publications are available in our dedicated web portal, and who's interested, you can scan the QR code. I can also mention that the value report that His Excellency the Minister is also available on that portal. This represents our commitment to moving from principle to practice, providing the tools needed to make accessible tourism a reality on the ground. Another example worth mentioning at the regional level is the adoption of the Arab tourism strategy at the Arab League Summit in Jeddah in 2023. And I'm confident that the extreme panelists in the session next will elaborate more on that. That strategy stands as a historic milestone demonstrating Arab leaders' dedication to unitely efforts enforcing tourism and unlocking the full potential of the regional natural and cultural heritage. Such efforts aim to ensure that the Arab region presents itself as not only a culturally rich but also inclusive, prepared for international travelers. The Middle East region possessed extraordinary assets, from cultural treasures like Giza, Petra, Al-Ula, and the historical forts of Sharjah. The natural wonders such as the Red Sea reefs, the cedars of Lebanon, the desert of Oman, and the mangrove forest and Hajar mountains in the UAE. For decades, however, national tourism strategies prioritize infrastructural expansion, investment attraction, and global competitiveness, while accessibility was often regarded as a secondary concept. This is now changing. Over the past decade, Middle East countries have begun to institutionalize accessibility in tourism policies. For instance, in the UAE's My Community, a City for Everyone initiative, have embedded accessibility standards across cultural sites and hotels. Saudi Arabia Vision 2030 incorporates inclusivity with mega projects like the Riyadh Gate, Al-Ula, integrating universal designs, while Qatar, ahead of the 2022 FIFA World Cup, created an accessible tourism legacy through public transportation, stadiums, and fan zone. Despite this progress, several challenges remain in the tourism sector. Infrastructure gaps. Many heritage sites were built centuries ago without accessibility in mind. The step pathway of Petra or the ancient temples in Upper Egypt present difficulties. In response, governments have begun introducing ramps, tactile pathways, and VR alternatives for tourists with limited mobility. Legislative and regulatory inconsistency. Accessibility standards vary across countries, and enforcement remains uneven. For instance, Kuwait has issued legislation and adopted initiatives such as the Kuwait Code of Accessibility and the National Policy of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities to address accessibility in the built environment. Though challenges in full implementation and compliance persist. While the 2010 disability law provides a foundation for inclusive, the nation is working on incorporating principles and creating a comprehensive universal design code to ensure accessibility and in facilities can promote societal inclusive for persons with disability. Private sector engagement. While governments are advancing regulations, some private operators still view accessibility as a cost rather than an investment. Yet leading projects such as Saudi Arabia's Red Sea project and Dubai hotel certification schemes proves that accessibility enhances competitiveness, attracting international recognition. Overcoming these challenges is not only about removing barriers, but also about unlocking opportunities, particularly through culture and nature, which is the Middle East's greatest tourism strength. From 15 to 16 December 2025, the UN Tourism Regional Office for the Middle East in Riyadh will host the first regional conference in inclusive tourism in the Middle East. This landmark gathering will bring together governments, businesses, and civil societies to focus on three vital themes: persons with disability, seniors, and women. This dialogue will be key to advancing smart solutions for accessible tourism. Cultural and natural heritage are not only symbols of the Middle East identity, but also powerful drivers for tourism growth. Unlocking their potentials requires ensuring that all people can access them. In Egypt, tactile maps and ramps at Luxor Temple and the Egyptian Museum allow visually impaired and mobility-challenged visitors to engage with heritage. In Saudi Arabia, Dir'iyah and Al-Ula integrated inclusive visitor centers, while Hajj and Umrah services provide wheelchair-accessible paths, dedicated apps, and multilingual guidance system. In Jordan, accessible trails at the Dana Biosphere Reserve showcase how nature-based tourism can be open to all. In the UAE, wheelchairs accessible boardwalks through Abu Dhabi mangrove forests combine sustainability with inclusivity. According to the World Health Organization, 16% of the global population experience significant disability. And the European Network for Accessible Tourism estimated that accessible tourism market to be worth over 150 billion USD annually. By embedding accessibility in culture and natural-based tourism, the Middle East expands its appeals, strengthens economic resilience, and reinforces the value of hospitality and dignity. True transformation requires multi-stakeholders cooperation, governments enforcing legislation, businesses embracing accessibility as a competitive advantage, and civil society maintaining accountability and advocacy. Our collective responsibilities is to transform these frameworks into reality, identifying infrastructure upgrades, expanding training, capacity building, guidance on global standards, and embedding accessibility across the entire tourism value chain. We therefore invite governments, businesses, and civil society to join us in these efforts, ensuring that the Middle East region become a global leader in accessible tourism. Accessibility is not a technical add-on. It's a moral duty, a social necessity, and an economic opportunity. By embedding it across cultural and natural tourism, we preserve our heritage, strengthen our economies, and project the Middle East region as a true inclusive destination. As we look ahead, we invite you to join us once again in Riyadh, where our first regional conference in inclusive tourism for the Middle East will take place, to deeper focus on the Middle East region and on the needs of persons with disability and seniority. Together, we can create a Middle East where tourism is inclusive, sustainable, and welcoming for everyone. Thank you for your kind attention. I wish you a pleasant continuance of the day and a very successful conference. Thank you.